Hey y'all, Radar here back with you to talk to you a little bit more about my turkey calling and how I do this. I did another one earlier kind of about how I set up and get these calls ready to go and that. And sorry about the backdrop, it's just easier to get out here on the porch because it's Idaho. It's April 10th and it's 71 degrees, which is good because I'm sure there's still a bunch of snow up where I go turkey hunting. And if these dogs will stay quiet, maybe we can get through this. So I did the other one, was about 10 minutes long. I'm going to try and keep these at about 10 minutes. But first I want to talk about when I get up in the morning, I get in there and get set up. After I get the decoys out and that, I go early. I'm out there at 4 a.m. because I'm a big proponent of getting out there so I can catch a bird coming off a roost. And a lot of times I could get them to shot gobble here. Now these Merrimans that we're hunting out here in Idaho, they're not as aggressive as Osceolas or even Easterns. Because to me, the Osceola is the most aggressive. So you could call a little more aggressive with them. But I haven't changed a whole lot out here. I've just quieted down a little bit. And by that, I don't mean that I'm calling less per se. But I just am not quite as aggressive. And I'll show you that when I get with these calls and that. A couple things, because I'm old and I got to remember them. I even have my little whiteboard out here so I don't forget this stuff. First of all, if you make what you think is a mistake, in the sense that you're calling and you make an error that doesn't sound quite right, just keep going. That turkey didn't know you made a mistake. I mean, the only thing that I found that if you did a real hard pluck, which is an alert call, at the wrong time, it could mess you up. But other than that, that bird didn't know you made a mistake. Because when I was a kid, I was calling, I'd make a mistake, I'd stop. My granddad's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I messed up." He's like, that bird don't know you messed up. Because you got to remember that it's like with elk hunting or any other kind of calling, the same dying rabbit, they don't all sound the same. The hens don't all sound the same. The elk, the cows and the bulls don't all sound the same. And there's bulls out there that I've called that were just sounded like some really sick dude making a terrible call. And it turns out it was a spike or a raghorn or something that just didn't call like you normally hear. And I've heard that occasionally. And I've heard it a lot with turkeys too. You get hens that sound different. Young hen, of course, sounds different than an old hen. But, if they had an injury or something like that, they don't sound. And the birds don't know you made a mistake. So don't freak out and stop what you're doing. Just pick right back up. Because especially when they're still a pretty good distance from you, those birds are really just hearing the high notes. Now, they can hear a lot of that, but when you're really getting on it and you're being loud, those birds are still just hearing part of that until they get close. So if you make a mistake, just keep going. And I mean, you're going to make mistakes when you first start with this. And hell, I've been doing it for 50-something years now. I was hunting my granddad when I was 4 and learning how to do this. So, I mean, I've made all kinds of mistakes and still killed birds. Because, like I say, just keep going. This hat. I have this hat on because this is my fishing one, but I have the exact same hat on. It's got a camo rag band around it to kind of camouflage it a little bit. I wear this hat for a couple reasons. One, if it's raining, it keeps the water from going down the back of my neck, which is really nice, especially when I was in Florida. So I've always worn these kind of hats because when I'm all camoed up, I usually have a face mask on. I'm too old to put on face paint anymore because I end up with it everywhere. But with this hat, it keeps the rain off the back of my neck. And number two is when I'm calling with a diaphragm calling, I tilt my head back. It helps me get some volume because it's like a buffer back here instead of just having a ball cap on. And I'm not saying don't wear a ball cap. It's just this is one of these little secrets I learned because, my granddad and Mr. Lynch and Clyde Howard and some of these other turkey callers I've been around my life always wore hats like this. And I always thought just because they were old men. Well, no, most of the time they wore a ball cap, but they wore one of these hunting for the exact same reason, the rain, and it gives you some volume. When you're really trying to get a gobbler that's a pretty good piece away from you, to come in and you need some volume, you can actually get it. We got cars going by, like I say, I don't edit these things, I just sit here and do them. So, and the other thing is you need a wing slap. That's a pretty good wing slap. It's a lot louder than a ball cap. So, these hats are pretty awesome. This is a Stetson, but you can get any kind of this. It's kind of a leather, crushable hat, and that's just one of those little things that I've learned over the years. So what I do in the morning when I first get into a blind And like I said, I'm going to take y'all turkey hunting this next week with Devin and Janelle. When we go up there, I'm going to go ahead and video it, get as much of it as I can so y'all can see, because hopefully we'll get a bird in if we end up going the 15th. We might get up there. It's warm, so hopefully a lot of snow's coming off up there the next few days because it's supposed to be warm. Then, of course, opening day of turkey season is supposed to be 19 degrees. So we might put it off depending on what we find when I get up there, because I haven't been up there this year because of these hip surgeries and stuff. But anyway, when I first get in the blind, when I got to chew in, because I normally go to chew in when I'm calling. But when I first get in, and it's, I'll get the decoy set up. I get up in there about 4. By the time I get the decoy set up, I like to be set up a half hour or so before it starts getting light, like the break of dawn, not sunrise, because, them birds will come out of the trees unless it's really cold. They'll come out pretty early. So what I first do when I get up there is, after I get set up, I'll listen for about 20 minutes or so, because I got a half hour, 45 minutes before it starts getting light. And so I'll listen, because I might hear them shot gobbling, because if an owl goes off, and a lot of people do that, they'll take an owl call, and I've done that on occasion, and it works, but gobble's still the best way to get them birds to let you know where they're at. So again, I'll get in there, wait about 20, 30 minutes, 25 minutes, 15 minutes, depending on if it's really calm. I might not wait quite as long. If it's really windy, I might wait a little longer, depending on how much noise we made getting there and all that. But I'll get up in there, after I'm set up, I'll do a gobble and just listen. And I don't do a bunch of them, because you don't hear some turkey in the tree going absolutely nuts, gobbling 15 times. They'll just shot gobble. When they answer you for a shot gobble, it usually comes very quickly after you do that gobble. And so I listen for a few minutes, and if I don't hear anything, I'll do another one and listen. And then if I hear one, I just stop, because then I don't need to keep talking to him, because all he thinks is I'm some other Tom or Jacob in a tree. So I don't want to keep talking to him that way, because if I start yelping too early, then that's not how this works, and they know it. So anyway, I do the gobble. So say I heard a bird, and I'm going to do this whole scenario like I heard a bird. So I heard a bird shot gobble. Let's say he's 300 yards away, because there's one draw that's usually, if they're roosted in there, that's about how far away they are. So I wait till it just starts to get light. And when it starts to get light, I start doing, and I'll use the box call for all of this just because it's easier, and I don't have a bird on top of me. And even though I'm in a blind, and I'm usually, have a blind in front of me, because I don't use those double bulls or anything like that. I usually just put netting in front of me, and I'm in a lot of them. I'm under a cedar tree, so I'm kind of tucked in a hole against some rocks. I got some awesome blinds up in this place, so in the morning I can move my hands and I can move around in there. So then I'll do a few just real light yelps, and that's it. I'm not going to keep yelping like the 3 or 4 times like you would later when you have one talking to you. I'm just going to do a few yelps. He may or may not answer me. I don't care if he answers me, because I know he's probably still in that tree. And at 300 yards, I can't hear him fly down unless it's really calm. So I just kind of go by the time of the day. So I'll do that again after, 2 or 3 minutes. I'll do another, and that's it. Now again, if he doesn't answer you, don't worry about it, because all I'm doing is saying, hey, there's a hen over here. Now, if he were to answer me from the tree, I'll pick up the diaphragm and do another soft call, like another hen. And I may go ahead and throw another little light hen call. Because now there's 2 hens, and he's sitting in that tree thinking, well, there might be something to this. So then I'll give it some time, and I might just shut up for a little while to let him think that, well, they're probably still in the tree, but they might be getting down. And as it starts getting lighter, and again, I'm not talking about sunrise, I'm talking about it starts getting light enough that you can see, 100, 200 yards, and it's coming quick with the daybreak. Because again, we're in the mountains. And where I hunt, I've got a shadow to my back, and I do not see sunshine on me until about noon. So I'm sitting in a hole, and it's a lot, darker in there. But anyway, I'll do that. As it starts to get a little bit lighter, and I'm thinking, okay, these birds will probably be coming out of the tree about now, then I'll start doing some gathering calls. the birds have gotten out of the tree. He's probably gotten out of the tree, and a lot of times they'll start gobbling. If they're within 300 yards or so, I usually have them talking to me by then. And again, I'm going to do this scenario like he's talking to me. So I might even pick up another call and do another one like I said in that earlier video, because then it sounds like there's more than one hen. And in that earlier video, like I said, if he thinks that there's more than one hen there to breed, he's got a better chance of breeding a hen, so he will be coming running usually. They'd like, okay, there's more than one hen, let's get over there. And that's why I keep these things light instead of that raspy hen thing. Does a raspy hen work? Absolutely. It's just, this has worked for me better going with younger hens, because it's not like I call in just young jakes because I'm using a young hen call. That tom don't care who he breeds, because the big toms want to breed everything. Just like the big elk wants to breed all the cows. It's the same way. That's why I love turkey hunting, because it's exactly like elk hunting to a sense. So anyway, I got this bird coming. He's gobbling. Now again, in the earlier video, I said, if he's answering this call, because I might have gone through, I may have picked up, when I'm doing that tree call thing, if he answers the box call, then I'm going to stick with the box call while he's on his way in. If he's answering the diaphragm call, I'm going to stick with the diaphragm call while he's on his way in. If it's another diaphragm call that was working and he's answering it, because I tried 2 or 3 of them and he really liked one, I'm going to stick with that call. And that's when I say, we're going to pretend like he went ahead and went with this. And then again, he gobbles and I just yell. And as he gets closer, I'll keep answering him. Now sometimes he'll shut up. And when he does, I might do 3 or 4 yelps. Because you got to remember, he's trying to call you to him. Those gobblers do not answer and make all that racket because they want to know where the hen is, and they're usually running to the hen. They're just like an elk. They're doing the bugling and that and making the gobbles and stuff to get the hen to come to them. What you're trying to do is say, nope, I'm not coming to you. You've got to come to me. So if I do 4 yelps and he doesn't answer me, I'll shut up. Because then, and this will bite you sometimes, because you'll shut up and you wait for him to gobble, and he might be going in the other direction because he thinks those hens have moved off. But if you hear him gobble and he's getting a little further away, then I might get more aggressive and get the other diaphragm call, and I'll start yelping and doing the yelps a lot more. And I do purrs and putts in there too. I mean, I don't want to make this a 2-hour video, but So he's coming. I'm yelping at him. Well, as he gets closer, and where I hunt, I try and set up to where I'm in a blind that I literally have maybe 50 yards of clearing in front of me. And where I hunt most of my blind spots, I have literally everything that walks into there is within shotgun range, even with the 410. Because that way I'm not having to guess on shots. And again, I know my distances, but if I've got a kid with me, I mean, and I'm going to tell them when to shoot, but it's just easier to set up knowing when that bird walks in there, he's within range already. Now, I'm going to work him into the decoys, and I want him standing 20 yards right in front of me. However, if he hangs up on the edge of that thing and we need to, we can still shoot him because he's within range. So anyway, as they get closer, I'll switch to the diaphragm, because now we're going to go to putts and purrs. So I've got him worked in, and he's on the edge of the clearing, and I can tell because he's right there, I can hear him. So I'll take the diaphragm, and all those little purrs and putts and stuff, if you've ever sat around a bunch of hens and they're doing it really softly, but they're making all kinds of racket. Even a lone hen walking through the woods is still kind of purring and putting under her breath. It's just, you got to get real close to hear it. And a lot of times we don't get that close to them, but I've sat in the middle of them. I used to, in the spring and stuff, when hunting season was over, we could put corn back out, because like I said, Granddad took care of turkeys on a ranch, so we would feed them, and I'd just go sitting there and listen to them. And they make all kinds of racket. So anyway, I got that bird in there, and as he's coming in, well, now I'm just going to keep doing that and working him, because I've got decoys set up with the Jake, and I got a funky chicken, or I might have my big tom out. It just kind of depends on what I saw up there or what I've been hearing. as to which decoys I put out in the way of a gobbler. But now he's seen all that and he's coming. Like, I could probably shut up and he's going to start drumming and just work his way into the main decoy, so where we have it set up for, you know, us to take a shot, whether it's with a crossbow, bow, or with a shotgun. So if he goes on in and I keep purring and putting, then we've made our kill. The other thing is, if you get hens in the decoys, that's like awesome. Like one of these places I hunt up here, I usually get a hen or two that just come in the decoys and they'll just hang out. And I got a really good decoy spread, so they'll just hang out in there and you can hear them, and I'm talking back and forth real soft to them, and it just, man, it'll seal the deal sometimes. So if you get hens in there, do everything you can not to spook them. I mean, if you got a gobbler answering you and you're being a little aggressive, then keep being aggressive because you're working on that gobbler. However, if you can kind of settle it down and keep that hen in your decoys for a little while, then you've got an extra decoy, or 10, depending on how many hens are standing there. Man, there's not a turkey alive that's not going to come running into that mess. Just make sure when you shoot, you don't have a bunch of hens behind you, so you take out a bunch of hens or a bunch of jakes or whatever that's behind you. So anyway, can you call too much? Yes, but again, you got to let the turkey dictate what you're doing. Sometimes I call some people like, man, you call a lot. But we'll have a bird that walks in that never said a thing because they think, well, there's something going on over there, and they'll just come walking in. I've had them walk right by, you know, like, holy crap, there's a turkey right there, and it'll just strut its little butt out to the decoys or run out to the decoys. And usually it's a jake, but we get big toms just walk in and never say a thing. So keep calling, but you just got to keep it subtle. The cutting and the fighting thing, I'm going to try and keep this to 20 minutes, but what I'll probably do is I'll just go ahead and do another video. Now, you know what, I'll just leave it in here. Y'all can watch this. I know it's long, but anyway. So cutting, that's something that came about in, like, I want to say the late 70s, early 80s. And it's just making a bunch of racket. And it's not really anything different than a fight. Because what will happen is, I've had this happen out here with these Merrimans, which are less aggressive than the Osceolas or the Easterns. And the Rio Grandes are probably the most subtle. Like, you got to really be careful calling them because where I shot my Rio Grandes was in Alamosa, Colorado, in the San Luis Valley, and then also over near Walsenburg, because those are no BS Rio Grande turkeys. They're not a mutt mix, kind of like what we have out here. So I had to kind of learn to tone it down when I was hunting them, and by tone it down, I mean I wasn't calling really any less. I was just being a little more subtle about it, and I never did a fight because they seem like the Rio Grandes really want to avoid a fight. Where the Osceolas will come in and jump in the middle of a fight, and the Easterns do the same thing, and the Merrimans, it just kind of depends on the bird. But out here, I've called birds in on a fight, and what happened was I had a big tom I shot up here with my crossbow that he was walking down a draw underneath me, and I had him coming, and he got on the edge of that, and I never did see him until I did the fight thing, but he hung up and gobbled, but he wouldn't come in, and I'm thinking, well, maybe that tom's too big for him, because I had my big tom out with a big, you know, the tail on it, because I use real tails in my decoys, so I could change them out, use a jake, or I could, you know, use a big tom. And I thought maybe he's seeing that he's not big enough, and he's kind of not knowing what to do with this. So I learned this from Granddad. I just started a fight, and by that mean I start just going nuts, and that to me is what cutting's about. And by going nuts, I'll gobble, and I'm just going to do this series like I would if I was caught in a fight, because it doesn't take long. If they're coming in, they'll come in quick. Anyway, so he's hung up, he's gobbling. I can't get him to come in with the yelps and the purrs and just yelping, you know, a little bit. So I'm like, all right. Usually it doesn't take that much when you do that, because what they think is there's a fight. And I'll tell you this, it's just like people. If you see two people standing in a parking lot talking, you could care less. You don't even pay any attention to them. If you see two people in the parking lot getting ready to fight or in the middle of a fight, everybody runs over to watch it. Turkeys, elk, deer, they're all the same. They're the exact same. You pick a fight, you get them stirred up with that, and they'll come. And it makes a big difference sometimes. The only thing I can tell you is the last thing is there's really only one call, and it's kind of a pluck, and it's an alert thing. And it's not a putt, it's a and I guarantee you do that, and every head's going to come up, and they're going to start looking. And if you do that at the wrong time, which is really hard to do, like I have to put some air in that, even with this easy blowing diaphragm. If you do that when they're in the decoys, because if he's at a full strut and you want to shoot him in the head, you know, a lot of people don't want to shoot him when they're in full strut. So you kind of wait. I usually don't wait, because if they're in the right position, I'll do that once. And they'll drop and they stick their head up, and I'll tell them I'm gonna putt when I do this. When he sticks his head up, you shoot it, or I'll shoot it, or whoever. But anyway, that's what I do with that. That's kind of the only thing that you can do that could mess you up as far as causing a bird to take off. Because if, say, he's on the edge of the clearing and you haven't seen him yet, he's gobbling, and you do that, he's gonna stop and stick his head up, whether he saw those decoys or not. And he knows something's up. Now, if somebody were to do that I was teaching to call, I usually can just tell them to stop, and I can ease back into just, you know, after a minute, because you got to give them time to look around. Because if I start yelping and purring right after that pluck, that's not what turkeys do. They do that alert pluck, and I call it a pluck because I don't know what else to call it. But it's just that loud, sharp thing. If I start, you know, yelping right away, then they'll know something's up, because every time I've seen them do that in the wild, every bird shuts up, and sometimes they'll stand there for 2 minutes, which seems like a half hour, but they'll stand there and they're looking around trying to figure out who saw what and what we need to be afraid of, and they're looking up for hawks. They're looking, I mean, it's just, so you just give them a second, and then you start yelping and purring and putting real soft, and all it's telling them is, okay, well, whatever it was, it may have been a hawk that flew by, and so they go back to doing what they're doing. So that's kind of the only call you can do that's really going to mess them up. So anyway, I'm sorry this thing's 25 minutes long. I hope that it helps you out. If you got any questions and you want to know something in particular, put it in the comment section, and I'll answer it, because I'm not doing anything till April 15th. We're going to go up, put the blind in on Saturday, and hope the snows come out of there so we can get in there. And, you know, next week, like I say, I'm going to take you all hunting when we take Janelle, because I think that'd be really cool to see that gal at 8 months pregnant shoot her first bird with us, because I think that's going to be fun. So anyway, I hope you all have a good day. Remember, God bless you, and y'all be careful out there. Like I said in the last video, don't wear red. Pay attention to your backstop. Pay attention to your target. 2 guys in Mississippi got shot the other day, and luckily they didn't get hurt, like they didn't lose an eye or anything, because somebody heard them calling and just shot at them without making sure they were shooting at a turkey. And it happens every year, because I hunt on public land out here. So, I mean, we don't have a gazillion turkey hunters, but there's more and more every year out here. So just be careful out there. So have fun. God bless you all. And again, we'll see you in the next video. Like and subscribe. Spring's here. Summer's coming. I go fishing. I go coyote hunting. I do all kinds of stuff that we'll be doing videos on. And if you got any questions, I try and answer all of them, because that's what I'm here for. So anyway, y'all have a good day. God bless you and be safe.